are now on the YouTube. So let me try to make sure I don't hear the back end. Okay, that's good. We are good.
Okay, I'm calling to order the meeting of the Marin Municipal Water District for November 17th, 2020. I think we need a roll call.
Director Bragman,
Aye.
Director Kohler,
Aye.
Director Russell,
Aye.
and President Gibson.
Here. And I think Molly is going to give us a closed session report.
Yes, thank you, President Gibson. We did hold a closed session special meeting prior to the regular meeting. I'm going to do the report out now for everyone. We had 2 real estate negotiation items on the closed session, and on each of those, we did, as staff, receive direction from the board regarding price and terms on those real estate negotiations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a motion to adopt our agenda for tonight?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, the roll call vote.
Director Bragman,
Aye.
Director Kohler,
Aye.
Director Russell,
Aye.
President Gibson.
Aye. Now we're ready for any public comment for anything that is not on our agenda.
I did not see any on the attendees. Earlier today, I did forward to you a couple of emails regarding items that were not on the agenda, and they will also be published on our website.
Okay, good. Do we have, well, let's see, we're ready for general manager's announcement. Up, you're on mute, Ben.
You think I'd be good at this by now. I do not have any items tonight.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any comments from any of the directors present today?
No announcement from me.
Okay, Larry?
No. No.
Okay, can I get a motion for the consent calendar?
Move approval.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Director Bragman,
Aye.
Director Kohler,
Aye.
Director Russell,
Aye.
and President Gibson.
Aye. We're on our regular calendar, item number 3.
I believe Chuck is bringing that item tonight.
Who is?
Chuck.
Oh, Chuck. Okay.
Good evening, members of the board. Yeah, this item is relatively straightforward. We're asking you to approve a resolution to delay the rate increases from January 1st to April 1st. So you'll recall that we were scheduled to have 4% rate increases go into effect on July 1st. On May 5th, the board took action on a package of items that were meant to help out customers financially. One of those items was the delaying of that 4% increase in the rates to January 1st. We've spoken to the board on our experience with delinquencies. We met with the Finance Committee last week and spoke about this. And given that we have ongoing pressures from the pandemic, we're recommending that the board adopt this resolution and push out the January 1st increase in the rates to April 1st.
Okay.
Seems very sensible to me.
Yeah, I agree. Any questions or comments from any board members?
Just a clarification, if I might, President Gibson, that we will be reviewing the situation in April again before we make a decision.
Yes, I think similar to this time, we will I'll be in my routine check-ins with the board, and we'll be continuing to evaluate the state of the county, certainly, and other considerations.
Yeah, and I also do want to thank Chuck for teasing out all the information that he did as far as the customers' payments and backlog. That it's very helpful. So thank you for doing that.
Right. Right. Okay, do we have any public comment on that?
Not on this item.
Okay, I guess we're ready for a roll call vote.
I'd move approval if it hasn't already been done.
It hasn't been done. Thank you.
Second?
Okay, now we're ready for a roll call vote.
Director Bragman,
Aye.
Director Kolar,
I think
are
she's
you nodding your head?
Aye, maybe not loud enough, sorry.
Oh, no worries. Director Russell
Aye.
and President Gibson.
Aye. Let's see, we're on our grand jury report regarding the climate change.
Okay, that's my item. This past September 11th, the Marin County Grand Jury released its report entitled Climate Change, How Will Marin Adapt? That reviewed the current state of climate change activities in Marin County, with the main conclusion of the report being that while progress is being made on mitigation initiatives, adaptation measures need additional attention. And there were a number of countywide recommendations to move forward with those measures. And as these grand jury reports typically do, they identified some number of findings and recommendations for MMWD to respond to. And in accordance with that, staff prepared a draft response letter to the grand jury, which is attached. I did want to call your attention, as you've probably seen, on one finding, number 4, and a couple of responses I'll get to. We were not in full agreement with those, and we indicated why. And on finding 4, it was that the existing adaptation efforts across the county pay insufficient attention to potential effects of climate change, including on public health, ecosystems, and social equity. And we're limited in our responses. You either agree, disagree, or partially disagree. So the draft indicates a partial disagree, really indicating that more information is needed, and that MMWD, given the nature of our business, we don't have independent expertise to analyze sufficiently to support that conclusion, particularly as it relates to public health and social equity. On recommendation 1 and 4, somewhat similarly, given the nature of the district, we kind of didn't fully embrace those and felt that we weren't well prepared to support the details of a countywide structure to move forward with these. We did try to indicate certainly the work we do along those lines, in our general interest, of course, to continue to be engaged and support the activities, particularly those that relate to our business.
Okay.
So if the board, if that works, of course, I take any thoughts or comments you have on that, and we would proceed to final the letter and get it off.
Just a comment. My impression from reading the proposed response is that most of the disagreement, or objection is the wrong word, but at least disagreement or inability to come to an agreement is based on lack of information. We're not ready to do that, as opposed to we don't want that. Am I reading that correct?
Yes, that is correct. And we weren't exactly opposing it, just suggesting more information. And I assume the county will be weighing in on this. They were requested to, and there'll be a process that unfolds, looking at a variety of alternatives that may or may not land on this precise one.
Yeah, and my own opinion is that the notion of I'll call it a control center, you know, so some sort of agency or body or whatever that oversees this would be a very good thing, in my opinion. Sort of, if for no other reason than to bring it together, to get it under one roof. And I assume, while I think you had said we're not ready to necessarily to do that or to participate in that, I would expect we would cooperate fully with such an effort. It seems so logical to me, you know. Yeah,
absolutely. And, you know, adaptation, and as discussed in the report, is, you know, as everyone I believe understands, is dealing with things of sea level rises and protecting homes and businesses, and that is largely in the purview of city, county, flood control districts and the like. So, but I fully expect, I'm confident that we would continue to participate as we do in other countywide similar activities and initiatives.
okay.
They-
Last, at least for me, is that a number of people have contacted me on this, and I have referred them to you. I presume you've been talking to those people. And
I did have a conversation, President Gibson, with a representative of
Climate action.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Marine Climate Action, and reflected, and I think their view was that the grand jury report may be way too heavy to adaptation, and the work needs to continue on mitigation. And I did share all the work we are doing with mitigation, including, as you know, the project that's kicking off looking at micro turbines for hydropower and the like. And that was very appreciated. Our work we've done in fire, you know, protection and that sort of stuff. So it didn't seem to be a gap there with their interest in the work we're doing.
good. Okay.
Say, Ben, I'm a little confused about the partial disagreement with finding 4. It seems to me that's kind of a no-brainer, right? The existing adaptation efforts pay insufficient attention to the other potential effects of climate change. I mean, you don't have to be a public health expert. I mean, to say we disagree with it suggests that we actually have information, right? I mean, they're saying, you know, that these things pay insufficient. I mean, I'm just confused. I don't understand why we would disagree with this. We have no information suggesting the contrary.
It's a good question, and we don't have to, if the board would like, take this direction. The reason I did it, and I tried to allude to in my earlier comments, that the responses are somewhat hampered prescriptively, and you either fully agree, you disagree. The only other option is to partially disagree. And we just don't have technical basis, and it wasn't in the report, to support public health and social equity. I don't dispute, Director Kohler, that that there's some intuitive knowledge that we all have or otherwise that would support it. As an agency, we don't really have that. But I don't think it would be harmful if the board wanted to agree with that particular finding.
Right. I'd be a lot more comfortable with that because, and I think you and I are seeing this in the opposite kind of reverse. I mean, the issue here is whether we have sufficient information to say that we're dealing with those other things. And we certainly don't have that. I mean, to say that we disagree with a finding that we have, that we're paying insufficient attention suggests that we are paying sufficient attention. And I don't know what would be the evidentiary basis for that. I mean, I understand you're saying you're partially disagreeing because you think there isn't enough information, but I think that swings the other way. Because to suggest that we partially disagree suggests that we think we do have enough information to make that determination. And I do not think we do. So, I'm not sure where the rest of the board is, but I'd be much more comfortable agreeing with that statement.
Any thoughts from the other board members on
I
that?
don't have any objection to go. I understand her point, and we're hamstrung by the way they've requested our response, but I think I could certainly live with that response.
Okay,
I can too.
okay.
The one thing I wanted to bring up on this thing is, to me, the blind spot in the grand jury is it doesn't really talk about carbon drawdown, which I really think is the key to dealing with the issue. And that's something we are doing with like the work we're doing up on Bolinas Ridge, vegetation management, all that kind of stuff. So there's a big gap in this grand jury report, which I think MMWD actually is trying to address. And I mean, I don't want to open up a whole can of worms because we have a very busy agenda tonight, but I did want to bring that to the board's attention and also really praise, our efforts to address that, because carbon sequestration, I believe is the answer. You can mitigate carbon output as much as you want. We got to get the carbon back in the ground. So anyway, that's what I have to say. So.
Okay. All right.
So based on what I'm hearing, we'll modify the response to finding 4 that we agree. And if it works for the board, we would make that change and then submit this letter directly.
That
Okay.
sounds good.
Any public comment on this item?
I do not see any public comment.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Oh, sorry. Yes, we do have one public comment from Belle Cole.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Am I muted or unmuted?
You're unmuted.
Good, thank you. Well, I'm glad I got myself in to hear this discussion, and I think it sounds very impressive, and I think all the work that you are doing that was pointed out maybe is not as well known as it should be, and I think it's a good idea for MMWD to keep following this and make its positions clearer and its connection with the both the adaptation and the mitigation. But I just want to say that since I'm the one who wrote this letter to you and expressed interest in seeing that the problem with the report on mitigation, the problem was not that it didn't say that it's taking place, it gave more credit to success than there has been. I mean, yes, we've got the curve, it's gone down, and it's impressive what's happened, but it's just the beginning. And more or less what they have said is well, now we can move to adaptation because we've essentially solved the problem of mitigation. That's just not the case. So it seems important to be able to give a certain amount of extra strength to the importance of mitigation in the response. It's the way I feel about it. I mean, that's the way the group I'm with feels about it. And also the importance of Drawdown Marin, which has initiated and supported and is moving into a new phase. And the phase is going to be a nonprofit and to be able to continue this effort with all of us. So those are things that I was advocating, and just thought I'd repeat them tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We have no further comments.
Okay.
I really appreciate Belle appearing and making those comments. I think the work that she's doing and that Drawdown Marin is doing is right on. And the more that the district can be working with them and supporting their work. And I'm very intrigued by her comment that people don't really know. I mean, the district has been working, very proactively on climate change since I joined it and Larry joined it, more than a decade ago. And we really need to be working with groups like Belle's to make sure that we're in partnership with them.
Yeah. I think this will gather momentum as it goes forward, and I think we're in a unique position. to participate in that, and we should look for ways to participate where we can. You
Good.
know, I guess you got your direction then, Ben, or do we need a roll call vote on this, or?
Could
I
we
think
entertain a motion, perhaps?
Yeah,
we can do that.
okay. I'd move approval of the letter as amended, as suggested by Director Kohler.
Then I'll second.
Okay. All right, I guess we're ready for a roll call vote.
Director Bragman,
Aye.
Director Kohler,
Aye.
Director Russell,
Aye.
President Gibson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, we're on number 5 here, award of contract 1935 for fuel reduction.
Good evening, directors. That's my item. We're going to invite Sean Horn into the meeting to give the
Okay.
presentation. We do have a short PowerPoint for you.
Oh, good, okay.
Good evening, board members. Sean Horn, Watershed Resource Manager. The item before you is award of contract number 1935 for fuel reduction and restoration work. The recommended action tonight is to approve resolution number 8610, awarding a 2-year fuel reduction and restoration contract to Hanford Applied Restoration. So on September 28th, the district released a notice inviting bidders to submit proposals for a 2-year fuel reduction and restoration contract. The district received 3 bids on October 23rd, and Hanford Applied Restoration was identified as the lowest qualified bidder. So staff is recommending that the board approve resolution number 8610, which will award contract number 1935 to Hanford Applied Restoration in the amount of $1,300,099. This will be for a 2-year fuel term, and it'll have an option for the district to extend in 1-year increments should the contractor meet the expectations of the district, and we'd be bringing that back to the board for each extension. So with that, I'm going to move into a PowerPoint that we've put together for you to really allow you to understand where this contractor fits within the portfolio of our vegetation management contractors.
Perfect.
So again, this is going to go into the vegetation management areas that we're currently working on under our biodiversity, fires, and fuels integrated plan, and then touch on the specific management actions that this contractor and other contractors are assisting us with. And then I'm going to review all of the contracts that we have for vegetation management so you can understand where this contractor fits within that portfolio, as I said. And then also the types of work that this contractor will be supporting on the watershed. So in this last year, we reported out at the last watershed committee meeting that the district was able to implement 1,200 acres of fuel reduction and vegetation management on the watershed. You can see the brown areas are maintenance of our Fuelbreak infrastructure, and a lot of our work was really focused in the areas adjacent to the WUI. And then we scaled up some of our forestry restoration work, which is that dark green area around Potrero Meadows, and then carried out some additional work in our wide area fuel breaks to enhance some of our grasslands and protect some of our oak woodland habitats. And that's that lighter green color on the map. So the vegetation management actions, typically when we talk about the biodiversity, fires, and fuels integrated plan, we separate these into 6 categories. But tonight I wanted to kind of break those categories apart and tell you about all the specific actions that these contractors assist us with. So we have fuel break maintenance. This is really going in and maintaining that 1,000 acres of fuel breaks that we've already constructed on the watershed. We have construction of new fuel breaks. This is a really labor intensive activity that's going into areas where we have not managed vegetation and trying to break up that horizontal and vertical continuity of fuels. And then we maintain a lot of broom on the watershed. We have 15 acres of broom. We maintain previous sites that we've treated before, and we go into new sites as well and start to remove that. And that's a long-term vegetation management priority. We also address a number of other priority weeds. This happens through our early detection rapid response program, as well as other efforts. We're starting to focus on targeted grazing within some of our fuel break infrastructure. We're scaling up our forestry restoration work as we've presented before. We're starting to address Douglas fir that's encroaching into some of our sensitive habitats, such as grasslands, meadows, and also addressing it in some of our wide area fuel breaks. We're carrying out fuel reduction around all of our restoration sites and in our fuel break work. We're also working on defensible space around our infrastructure, some of our facilities, such as water tanks, as well as our rangers housing and our Sky Oaks Ranger Station. We conduct dam maintenance per the Department of Water Resources requirements. We also carry out grassland management and preservation activities. We're looking at scaling up prescribed burning and developing burn plans for the watershed. We're also moving forward with roadside brushing. This is to allow for facility access as well as to support our recreational activities on the watershed. And then hazardous tree removal is another activity that we carry out on an annual basis. So I wanted to break down all of those contracts for you and just let you see where this new contract will fit into some of the other ones you've recently approved. So we have a landscape maintenance contractor that assists with some of our fuel break maintenance, broom pulling, defensible space actions, and then the maintenance of our dam faces. This contract's in the amount of $325,000 with Forester and Kroger. We have an arborist or tree contractor, which is West Coast Arborist, that helps us with our hazardous tree removal, managing large down trees that might fall in a storm event across our roads or our fire roads. Helps us with technical pruning activities, and this contract's in the amount of $75,000. And then this new contract is going to be our fuel reduction and restoration contractor. This is really going to support our Douglas fir encroachment work, removing some of the larger trees where they're encroaching into these sensitive habitats, assisting with roadside brushing using heavy equipment, assisting with fuel break construction, assisting with some of our more technical invasive species management, supporting forestry groundwork, and then also a new activity is scaling some of our native plant restoration and maintenance activities. Some of these are priorities within the BIFIP and others are priorities within our Lagunitas restoration sites that we have an obligation to maintain for the coming years. So you'll see this annual contract will give us $625,000. The total contract tonight is $1.3 million. We'll be stepping up slightly in year 2 with this particular contractor. And then we also recently approved a contract for forestry restoration with professional tree care. This is really where we're bringing in that heavy equipment to help us with that forestry work and also some of our roadside brushing. And that contract on an annual basis is $650,000. Now we have other contractors that assist us with more of our technical weed management work. We work with WRA as well as the Golden Gate National Parks Conservancy or ONTAM on our early detection rapid response. Our contract with WRA is $75,000. And our benefit from working with ONTAM is that they've really provided that lift in that early detection rapid response. And that doesn't have a cost to the district. That really just comes from that partnership, which is really great. And then we also use our watershed aids that support some of that invasive work as well. And then some of the forestry groundwork that gets completed on the watershed, as well as some of our pile burning support and trail maintenance is happening by the California Conservation Corps. We recently approved a contract for $190,000 to help with the next year of implementation of that type of work. We also have a contract with the California Conservation North Bay crews. They help us with broom management, trails maintenance, and then we recently scaled that to be litter abatement as well. So they're working with us across the watershed, and we have a contract currently for $24,000, and then also a grant with them for $225,000, which is supporting our Azalea Hill trail implementation. Now we also work with Youth to Work, and they support some of our forestry groundwork as well. That contract on an annual basis is $30,000. And then we're starting to focus some of our targeted grazing activities within fuel breaks to see how that goes. And we did this last year with a contract of $20,000, which we'll move forward with again this year. And then we have prescribed burning. So we've been working with the county to develop those burn plans. We've been paying $75,000 a year to get their support. Some of that support comes in helping with pile burning. Some of it comes with planning future prescribed burns on the watershed, as well as other fuel reduction work. Now I want to go into what this contractor is actually going to be helping us with on the watershed. They'll be bringing some equipment onto the watershed to assist with roadside brushing, but they won't have the capabilities of a large excavator in the background there. Really, it's limited to a skid steer to help us with some of our brushing work, and then some of our ground support for some of our forestry work, such as Douglas fir thinning or systematic pruning of some of the hazardous trees within our forestry plots before we bring the equipment in there. They'll be working on some of the smaller diameter removal within these forestry restoration areas. So you can see this is an oak woodland that's actually been invaded by Douglas fir, and we've been going in and removing that as part of our forestry restoration work. So that's an activity this contract would be supporting. Also, some of our new Fuelbreak construction, this is a labor intensive activity. We only implement a few acres a year because it is so costly and labor intensive. But this is where we're going into areas that haven't been treated before and actually breaking up that horizontal and vertical continuity of those fuels. So you can see an example here. Also supporting some of our Douglas fir removal within our wide area fuel breaks. And that's really specific. Where we're managing these are in areas that we've been trying to build out our wide area fuel break infrastructure over the years. So this contractor will support some of that work as well. They'll have the equipment capabilities to assist us with some of our grassland work. So this is an example of where we've managed coyote brush that was encroaching into some of our grasslands, also within a wide area fuel break. An example of before and after shots of this type of work being done on the watershed, and it's the similar type of work that we'd be carrying out with this contractor. And then the new activity that they're really bringing to our portfolio is this native plant installation and maintenance. Now this can range from installing plants to maintaining them, as far as bringing water out to the sites to maintain them, as well as maintaining invasives around those native plants that we're installing. So we do have a requirement within our Lagunitas Restoration winter habitat sites. When we constructed those, we had to create access points and actually have some impact to the native vegetation. So now we're going in and restoring those impacted areas as part of the restoration and part of our permits for those projects. So this contractor is going to be the implementing entity for that work. And then also assisting us with some of our more technical invasive species management throughout the watershed, which can be very time consuming and requires additional support from time to time. So with that, we wanted to give you an overview of what our contractor portfolio looks like and the type of work that they're carrying out on the watershed. But tonight we're recommending that the board approve resolution number 8610, awarding a 2-year fuel reduction and restoration contract to Hanford Applied Restoration. So with that, I'll take any questions you might have.
Okay. Questions from the board?
Sean, are we going to be expanding our defensible space work around the adjoining neighborhoods, Kent Woodlands, Fairfax? Is there any plan to expand that work with these folks?
So with our defensible space, we typically think of that as like 100 foot from a structure. So we maintain 100-foot defensible space from all structures. If there's additional work that needs to be done, yes, we can continue to do that work. Some of that's more maintenance related. Some of our fuel break infrastructure, we are trying to expand, and that's what abuts to that defensible space zone as well. And so that is in our BIFIP, we are targeting about 10 acres a year of expansion of that fuel break infrastructure.
I also
really focus in those urban areas. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think it would be a good idea to try to get the neighborhoods involved, doing some work days with us as we do some defensible space work near the adjoining neighborhoods. So I'd be very pleased if we could do some pilots maybe next year. And the other thing I just wanted to bring up, and it was just an interesting point in TAC, and I think you may have been at that last meeting when there was mention of when we remove vegetation overhanging the creek, we may be inadvertently increasing water temperature. So, I know you're aware of the whole issue, but you might want to just touch on that for the board, just as it's just one of the inadvertent consequences of our fuel reduction efforts.
Yeah, and with our fuel reduction efforts on the watershed, we really aren't working around anadromous streams that have these fish species that we're really concerned with, and as we are with Lagunitas Creek. And we are also, per our mitigation measures, avoiding those sensitive riparian areas as much as possible. I don't think we have very many cases where we're working in the riparian area for our fuel reduction work. But in Lagunitas Creek restoration work, that's a very important thing to consider as we start designing new restoration possibilities, is thinking about how to minimize our impacts to the vegetation when we're coming in to improve habitat.
Thanks a lot, Sean.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, any other questions from the board? Do we have any public comments on this?
Yes, we do have one, Mimi Willard. Mimi, you're on mute.
Sorry, it took a while for the unmute to show up. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry for the delay. I just wanted to compliment and reinforce Director Bragman's comment. I know that he met recently with some members of my neighborhood at Kent Woodlands, which is very concerned about defensible space and wants to work cooperatively with the district towards that. And it would be great if this could happen in any locales where there is the interest in so doing. Thank you.
Do we have any other public comment?
We do not.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve this?
So moved.
A second? I guess it fails for lack of a second.
Second, sorry. Gotta get unconnected here.
Okay, that's right. Roll call vote.
Director Bragman,
Aye.
Director Kohler. Director Kohler.
She must be muted.
Yeah.
Lost in space.
Yeah.
She's muted.
I'll go on to Director Russell and then I'll come back to, oh, there's Director Kohler. Director Kohler, do you,
I'm sorry. I think my sound cut out there for a minute.
the motion was to pass the award of contract, the resolution.
I'm so sorry. My sound did cut out. Aye.
Thank you. Director Russell
Aye.
and President Gibson.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right, number six, we have fill a senior engineer position. Must be Mike.
Yes, good evening, board members. Mike Bond, Director of Engineering. So recent vacancy has been created in our department with the retirement of a principal engineer. And we'd like to underfill that at the senior engineer 1 manager level. So tonight, in this position would be responsible for managing our construction group. They would supervise the inspectors and also work side by side with our engineering team in doing constructability review of design projects. And the position would report directly to me or would be directed to me. So with that, we're requesting board approval tonight to recruit and fill this position at the senior engineer 1 manager level.
Okay. This is all within our present budget, I presume?
Yes, this does not increase the total FTEs, and the salary and benefits are in the engineering budget.
Okay, thank you.
Do you expect any difficulties in recruiting under these conditions?
I hope not. I mean, I think we've got a lot to offer here. We've got a lot of interesting projects. The more experienced engineer positions tend to be more challenging, but we will do our best out there.
Sure. Are you hiring a headhunter?
No.
Okay. Any other questions from the board, comments? Okay, do we have any public comment on this?
We do not.
I guess I need a motion.
Move
Motion
approval.
to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote.
Director Bragman,
Aye.
Director Kohler,
Aye.
Director Russell,
Aye.
and President Gibson.
Aye,
Thank you.
thank you. We're on item number 7, October water supply report.
Yeah. Good evening, Paul Sellier, Operations Director. I'll just share my screen quickly here. And let's get going. Maybe. Where is that? Down here. Well, my slideshow is not working. I guess we'll just, can you guys see it like this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. For some reason, it won't come up on the full slides, which is odd.
Okay.
But anyway, I'll muddle through quickly. So the monthly water supply report for October. Tonight we'll follow our usual steps and take a look at taste and odor, and then we'll look at the month of October production and supply, and a storage snapshot with a projection looking forward, and then a quick review of our water supply strategy. And so with that, our taste and odor season is just about over at this point. And you can see October is barely registering down here with maybe one or two, I think. It says one complaint for algae taste and odor for the month of October. So no issues there. And as I say, that season is just about over for this year. Our reservoir storage finished October with 95% of average and about 49,750 acre feet of water. So still slightly below average at the end of October. Our monthly water production slightly up from the previous year, from financial year 20 to 21, and our imported water, as we've indicated all along, is up a little bit for October, and we're going to continue that strategy. Looking at the monthly potable, so these are each month split up into 5 years, and October is continuing to show just that slight rebound that we've seen for the whole year, just about. And as we look at it in another chart here, a slightly different way, running 12-month potable production, and we're towards the end over here of this chart. And again, it looked like it was starting to turn back down at one point, but I don't know if I can say that at this point. But we're watching this with great interest at this stage. So I am expecting that to turn down a little more authoritatively than it has at the moment. Our next slide is total reservoir storage, and again, this is at the end of October, so pretty straightforward, linear slope here as we draw down the reservoir through the summer period. And you can see from the average curve above, it does start to flatten out as we get into the rains.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of where we ended October, about 5% shy of average. Looking at our snapshot today, these two tables, so our water on this side, Lake Sonoma over here, and I've circled sort of the two pertinent, I think, numbers on each of these charts. So right now we're at 48,257 acre feet, which is still, 93% of average for this time of year. And again, Lake Sonoma, as of yesterday, had 168,805 acre feet. And yes, I am jealous of that number, but it's 91% of average. So we're in a very similar position. There's nothing unusual per se about our water supply position at this point. As before, our planned water purchases for the year going forward, we're trying to increase the amount of water that we're taking earlier in the year from Sonoma, and that's what this chart reflects. So up until October, so these are actuals, and you can see September and October, we struggled a bit to meet our targets, which would have been a little bit higher than here. And this just reflects some of the hydraulic constraints that we face in that aqueduct.
Mm-hmm.
But as, of course, the weather and the rains, you note, have started and hopefully will continue. And so we expect that capacity in that aqueduct to become more available for us as time goes on. Our projection looking forward really hasn't changed much. Obviously, the only thing that's changed is we used to have a projection going through summer, which has now become reality, which is our black line here, which is our storage level, total storage levels. And you can see our predictions, which were 150% of average rainfall, and this is 50% of average rainfall.
Mhm.
And so you can see, even though we would be at 50%, if we were at 50% of average rainfall, which is only 26 inches, we would still next April be above our trigger of 50,000 acre feet for voluntary rationing.
Right.
So in general, things are okay with water supply. Our taste and odors we seem to be out of the woods on those. So I think no more complaints coming through till next spring, when we start to worry about that again. Storage is, of course, near average. We're continuing our front-loaded purchases of water from the agency, and of course, continuing to watch demand. And again, the rain's really helping with that. Today, I think we had just over an inch of rain, and fingers crossed, folks are turning off their sprinklers. And so we'll continue that monitoring of demand and, of course, storage. And as I noted, the weather outlook, rain today and sort of showers continuing tomorrow, and maybe a little bit into Thursday.
Good.
And that's my report this evening.
Okay.
Good.
Any board questions or comments?
You know what the rainfall was today, Paul? Or this morning?
Yeah, it was just over an inch. I want to say 1.2 inches or something like that. That's up at Lagunitas. Down here is slightly less, but around an inch.
Mm-hmm.
So then we're about an inch and a half to year to date, something like that.
2.5, yeah.
2.5. Okay.
Yeah, the last
So
storm, the last
about
storm,
50,
I think. Yeah.
50% of normal, maybe a little less.
Not, yeah, less than 50% of normal at this point. Early days, of course.
Yeah. Although it appears, if I'm reading the chart right, we're at crunch time now. We better start getting some rain. Or
I think that we're entering crunch time. It's a month or two that I would consider crunch time, but this time, middle of January, yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay. All right. Any other board comments or questions?
We are out of fire season, at least. So
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Any public comment on this?
We do not.
Okay. I see this is an approval item. So can I get a motion to approve it?
I'd move approval.
Okay.
It should be an information item, I think.
Should be, but it's
It is.
normally is, but
We've never approved these reports. They're just informational.
It says information, Jack. It says on it, information.
looking at it says approve.
I approve it anyway, though.
Okay.
I don't think we should start approving these reports.
All right. So scratch that, huh?
Well, then I would disapprove it because there wasn't enough rain.
Yeah.
Not over. Not over.
All right. That takes us to item number 8 on our agenda. Change of employer's contribution rate for health insurance.
Vicki Garay, our HR manager, will be presenting this item.
Okay.
Thank you, Ben. Good evening to the board and to all meeting participants. Through this staff report, staff recommends that the board approve resolution number 8591 and resolution number 8592 to set the district's health benefit contributions for the year 2021. This item is presented to the board annually, as it is a requirement to fix the contribution through board resolutions. All CalPERS participating agencies are required to submit these resolutions annually. And the district has met this requirement for the past 25 years. So again, through this recommendation, it is our recommendation that the board approves resolution number 8591 and 8592.
And if I may just add on a little bit, because there were some questions and comments that we've received in the district, and I wanted to try to address some of the questions that came up. The Public Employees Medical and Hospitalization Care Act does cover our board members as well as our employees and annuitants. And that is because CalPERS considers, for purposes of the act, that our directors are employees, non-CalPERS employees. So, and that's pursuant to Government Code Section 22772, which is a provision of the act. And it's also consistent with our verification in addressing the questions to our CalPERS representatives. So we wanted to make sure that we had clarity on that. So Section 22892 does apply to the board directors as well, and we do have to submit the annual resolution to be in compliance with the provision. The district board is, based on my research, opted into the act in 1995 for employees, annuitants, and board members. There may have been other healthcare provisions prior to that time, but that's the year that I found that the district joined the Public Employees Medical and Hospitalization Care Act specifically. I also wanted to clarify that employees receiving benefits are entitled to continue receiving those benefits where they're provided, even when they reach the age of 65. So they're still entitled to receive medical benefits, even though they may be of an age to be eligible for Medicare. So I hope that that provides some clarity, and Vicki and I will continue to be here and answer any questions as they might arise.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any board comments or questions on this? Hearing none. I got a few emails, so I'll presume there's some public questions or comments on this.
Yes, we do have a couple of comments. The first one is from Mimi Willard.
Okay.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I would just like to weigh in briefly on the sort of overriding issue here, which is I believe that the general sentiment among your constituents as elected directors whom you are supposed to serve is that that this is an inappropriate use of funds. Paying the full cost of the family health insurance up to $1,871.68 per month for directors is contrary to the prevailing practice in Marin, which is really what is your appropriate bogey. It's generally not done here, and certainly not generally done at this high level. $200 a month, for example, is done in the Galenas Valley, which is a fraction of what you're providing. The ratepayers object, I think, on three grounds. First of all, and I think of particular concern, is that this kind of action makes directors effectively employees, which is really at conflict with their fiduciary role to provide independent oversight. They benefit from what they are providing for the other employees. Secondly, as I mentioned before, it's an inappropriate use of ratepayer dollars. And thirdly, those over age 65, certainly among the board of directors, most of whom have outside jobs, this is inappropriate for them to not be on Medicare. It's an excellent program. Most of your constituents would agree that it is. It's good enough for them, and it should be good enough for you. And I think in some, the fact that perhaps you are permitted to award yourself these benefits doesn't make it the right thing to do.
Okay.
Thank you. The next speaker we have is Laura Ethel.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. You have a letter of objection from cost. saying that this justification is completely inappropriate. And just a moment ago, when Ms. McLean cited yet another statute, Government Code Section 22772. I looked that one up. That doesn't help you either. I have no idea why you're doing this. You can get just as much compensation without this illegal justification. You're making payments to directors. Okay, so you're making payments to directors. This is taxable compensation, and you can do it, but making this ridiculous justification, it just makes no sense. And I don't know why you're doing it. It's not appropriate, and it's definitely contradicted by the very statutes that you have cited. Now, I can read. This doesn't take some kind of genius to read this, just somebody who understands the English language. So if you read these two statutes that you've cited, you will find that they do not apply in this situation. And I think you owe it to the ratepayers to withdraw this resolution and come up with something that makes more sense. Thank you.
Thank you. I do not see any attendees that would like to make a comment, further comments, but if I may, President Gibson, I'd like to talk to you, or to you and to the board, that we have received many emails regarding this particular item concerning the proposal for approving Resolution 8592. So due to the unique length of comments, 35 and counting, I'm going to try to summarize what was stated in those. So as we've heard from Ms. Willard and Ms. Uffel, as well as hearing about from COST, the Coalition of Sensible Taxpayers, a third of those emails we received were all in relation to COST's letter to us, or to the board, opposing this resolution. One of the highlights of that, of the emails, or of the letter, was that the fact that MMWD needs to end the practice of paying health insurance to part-time directors. Many of the comments of the emails basically were stating the same thing, that they concurred that the directors shouldn't receive these benefits because they are only considered part-time and not employees. One email stated that being a director is just doing public service, so why are the directors getting paid for it? As was mentioned by one of the other commenters tonight, another email came in regarding that we should consider Las Galinas Sanitary District's policy providing a $200 stipend for active board members for their health insurance. But those were the majority of the emails. And then lastly, the other emails that came in had to do with why is the board doing this when we are getting ready to do water rates, and when we've increased the water rates. All of these comments that came in will be posted on our website tomorrow, and hopefully I can get that all to you by tomorrow afternoon.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the board, or questions from the board?
Could I comment, Jack?
Please.
President Gibson? Just, I think the language used by COST in its letter, which accuses the district of fraud, really needs to be reconsidered here. It's just not founded legally or factually. I mean, as far as I could tell, and I provided the documentation to Mimi, the practice of providing health benefits to the board, as far as I could tell, at least began 25 years ago, and probably before then.
I can assure you before that.
It's been monitored and administered by CalPERS itself. So this isn't some kind of shell game that's being foisted. This has been a public item and a public issue for many years, and and I understand there's disagreement from cost about it, but again, I think the language used is inappropriate and unfounded. Government Code Section 22772 defines an employee under subsection 2 as an officer or official of a contracting agency. Well, MMWD is the contracting agency. We are the officials. We're considered non-CalPERS employees. And I would just like to say on the broader issue, having served for 11 years as a municipal official in Fairfax, which did not provide benefits, it has been really, the benefits have really enabled me to serve on this board. And I think there's something to be said for compensating elected officials. I think the other municipal officials in Marin County should get health care, as I think all people should get health care. Medicare is not going to work in my particular situation because I've got 2 young guys that need insurance in my family. So again, I understand the issue. I understand the disagreement. I disagree with the language. I disagree with the legal interpretation of what's been going on here, and just ignoring the fact that this has a long history in the district and it's a minute fraction of our budget and encourages public participation on our board, which I think is a good thing and I think should be expanded to other municipalities. So I am not in agreement with austerity to start cutting benefits. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Of course, that's also another issue here, which plays into it. So it's a complex issue, and I don't think it's an issue that should be waved around like a red flag. I think it deserves discussion. Hopefully, we're giving it discussion. I'm fine continuing to discuss the matter as we go through approaching our next biannual budget. But I really appreciate it. It's enabled me to serve the district, which has been a huge honor and just a great thing. And I just want to sort of state for the record that I think we should defend it. I think public service is important and should be encouraged.
Well said. Well said.
President Gibson, one of the prior public speakers wants to make another comment. Should we just move on, or should I let her speak again?
It violates, I'm going to say yes, it's so long as it's a short comment, but our rule is you get one bite at the apple, but go ahead,
Okay, I'll let her speak.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is Laura Ethel. Director Bragman just misquoted that statute that Ms. McLean referred to, and I could read it to you if you want, but he misquoted it. It says, employee means an officer or employee of the state or of any agency, etc. And by misquoting that, he has suggested something that really wasn't meant by the statute. And that's all I'll say at this point.
Thank you. Okay, any other board comment or questions? Yeah, Larry.
Ms. Ethel, I was quoting subsection 2, which I'm going to hold up right here for you. And I've underlined it. There's a I'll leave it there. Let me see. There we go. So if you look at subsection 2, it has another additional definition. And that's what I was reading from.
Okay. All right, can I get a motion on this?
I'd move approval.
Okay. Thank you.
Second.
Okay, I guess we're ready for roll call.
Director Bragman,
Aye.
Director Kohler,
Aye.
thank you, Director Russell,
Aye.
and President Gibson.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, we have number 9, awarding the contract for San Geronimo Treatment Plant construction, generator construction.
Thank you, Director Gibson. Alex Anaya is going to lead our discussion on this. Alex is our senior engineer and the project manager for this project. Hi, Alex.
Good evening, all. I'm Alex Anaya, senior engineer in the design section. I'm here this evening to present the award of contract number 1905 for the San Geronimo Treatment Plant Emergency Generator Project. The San Geronimo Treatment Plant Emergency Generator Project includes the installation of a 3 megawatt emergency generator system at our San Geronimo treatment plant to provide emergency power and ensure continued production and distribution of our water supply. The San Geronimo treatment plant provides approximately 50% of the district's water supply for our customers. And by installing the 3 megawatt generator at our treatment plant, the district will be able to ensure the continued production of water during Pacific Gas and Electric's public safety power shutoffs or during any other unforeseen power outage event that occurs. The district advertised this project on September 15th, and we received 4 bids on October 29th. The original generator design was based off of the medium voltage Caterpillar generator and a 1.5 megawatt system for a total of 2 generators for a total energy output of 3 megawatts. After further evaluation, the district deemed or determined that non-basis of design generators manufactured by both Generac and Kohler may qualify as alternate systems with additional design and cost considerations. Given the complexity of this project, the district issued contract addendums in which it specified and required that bidders that submitted bids that varied from the basis of design shall include with their bid documents complete information from the generator manufacturers demonstrating to the district that the proposed substitute generators would be equal in quality and utility to the original design and would result in a fully operable system. The engineer's estimate for this project was $4,338,000. Thompson Builders Corporation had the apparent low bid of $4,643,000. Thompson Builders bid was based on a Kohler generator system, which varied from the basis of design. Thompson Builder did not, however, include with their bid documents the information that was required to demonstrate compliance with the requirements of the contract specifications. District staff also determined that Thompson Builders did not include a specified experience required as identified in section 1000 of the contract specifications. This section required successful experience on 3 permanent generator projects of similar or larger magnitude within the past 10 years, one of which must have been completed in the past 5 years. As a result, staff determined that Thompson Builders Corporation's bid was non-responsive for not meeting the requirements of the contract specifications. The second apparent low bid was submitted by CWS Construction Group with a bid amount of $4,662,600. CWS's bid was also based on the Generac system, which varied from the basis of design. CWS did not include information with their bid which demonstrated compliance with the requirements of the contract specifications. The district staff also determined that they did not include specified experience required as identified in section 1000, again stating the experience on 3 permanent generators of similar or larger magnitude in the past 10 years, one of which must have been completed in the past 5 years. As a result, staff determined that CWS Construction Group's bid was non-responsive for not meeting the requirements of the contract specifications. The next apparent low bid was submitted by Haskell Corporation in the amount of $5,129,440. Haskell's bid was based on a Kohler generator system, which did vary from the base's design. Haskell's bid did include complete information demonstrating compliance with the requirements of the contract specifications. In addition, Haskell also included projects which clearly demonstrated compliance with section 1000, which required, again, successful experience on 3 permanent generator projects of similar or larger magnitude within the past 10 years, one of which must have been completed in the past 5. This project does have a duration of 455 days and has been broken out into 2 phases. Phase 1 will have a duration of 225 days and will be completed by June 30th of 2021 and will provide the district with a function generator system. Phase 2 will have a duration of an additional 230 days and will be completed by February 15th, 2022, and will be to install an automatic transfer switch that will automatically switch the power from PG&E to our generator system whenever PG&E power goes down in the treatment plant. The longer lead time on this item is what led to the 2-phase approach, and that's what broke it out into 2 phases. By awarding this contract today, the district will stay on schedule and will have its own permanent generator by June 30th of 2021 in time for the next PG&E PSPS season, avoiding the need to rent another generator for a 3rd year. For these reasons stated, district staff recommends that the board approve resolution 8611, awarding contract number 1905 to Haskell Corporation at their contract bid price of $5,129,440. Any questions, comments?
Okay. Any board questions or comments? Larry?
Yeah, was the Kohler generator that Haskell specified the same as the one specified by the low bidder?
It's not, we cannot make that determination because the information was lacking from the low bidder. They never provided that information to us.
Not even a model number?
They gave us a model number, but there are different variations in that generator that come in different sizes that we weren't able to evaluate.
And isn't the cost to rent the generator lower than the cost difference between the low bid and the Haskell?
I believe maybe Paul Selye may have some information on that. I don't have those rental numbers.
My recollection is about $250,000 a year, but I could be off on that. That's what I remember.
230, Larry.
Yeah, the staff report indicates about, right, $250,000 a year for rental.
So, you know, while I appreciate the situation, I mean, it seems to me we should give some thought to rebidding the job. You know, it's the lowest bidder is 300,000 over the engineer's estimate, and we're talking about a difference of 500K. You know, the 1 and 2 are pretty close. Now, I understand they may not have the experience, and that's an issue they're not going to be able to resolve between now and if we were to rebid. So those are my initial reactions to it.
Okay.
Could I chime in?
Yeah.
What's the life expectancy of the generator?
How much you're going to use it? That's the question, huh? You know.
Right, correct.
It just seems, you know, this is, when this was initially presented, we were looking at about half the costs that we're looking at now. And I just don't, know if it really pencils out, because we could rent generators for the next 20 years and still be paying out, costing less than installing our own. And I'm just wondering if, the generator has a life expectancy of 20 years. I mean, I just don't know if it really pencils out. The other thing is, does the contractor have an opportunity to correct his bid? So was Thompson notified that their bid was deficient and given an opportunity to correct it as far as providing experience?
I don't know if Mike wants to speak to that or if I should.
Yeah, with respect to experience, they did list their experience, Larry, and we talk about that in the report. So they were deficient and they don't have the experience that we require.
Okay.
They did give us the information. In fact, the generator units they've installed are substantially smaller than what we're contemplating here. And then also we did do a return on investment calculation, and even at the full loaded price of the contract, which we don't, full budget, the return on investment is 15 years relative to renting a generator every year. And by building our own generator, we get coverage 6 months, or excuse me, and year round. And when we rent the generator, we only get 6 months of protection. So we'll get the return on investment is 15 years, plus you get year-round protection with your own generator. And you could conceivably have an event in the wintertime.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have to rent a generator then. And so we would be vulnerable. If you get an earthquake or any kind of other event that happens, you are still vulnerable. This really provides us with such a strong level of resilience that we've needed out there. And the program that Alex has put together gets us there starting, this summer, which, every year we're kind of a little bit rolling the dice with renting a generator. Here we have a chance to put in a permanent generator. The references for Haskell came back very positive. Modesto Irrigation District was very high on this team, so they know exactly what they're doing. And so we feel really strongly about what we're proposing here tonight. We see that there's a difference in the bids, but the value that we think a team like Haskell brings with their experience and their understanding of how to do the project, I think will really pay off for us.
I wanted to just reinforce one point that Mike made. In my view, while the PSPS events were the initiation, certainly, for moving with this project, even absent those, if we weren't having PSPS shutdowns, this would be a very important project for us for general resiliency, for natural disasters, power outages. We have one line coming in. We're really highly vulnerable, and best industry practice is to have a backup for such a critical facility. And Mike was sharing with me, we did have an event some years back where we lost power and the tanks were drawing down, and fortunately PG&E was able to restore it. But we are an earthquake country and wildfire possibilities. I do think, in a way, I look at it in a reverse way, that the payback from the rental in a way subsidizes a very good resiliency project for us, almost 50%. So I do think the district's really well positioned. And in terms of rebidding, I certainly appreciate, Larry, that looking at the numbers, of course, as you know, it's a bit of a roll of the dice when you rebid in terms of, are you going to get a bidder with the sort of experience this one has, and how the bids play out? You really don't know. They don't always come in how they did this time or lower. The market changes, people get busy. And there's certainly a staff cost. It's not, dominant, but going through the bid process. So I would recommend we stay the course, but a lot of good work has gone into this, but more so really just to position the district with this resilient backup for such a critical operational facility that is really right at the heart of our core business.
One quick comment for me.
Go ahead, Cynthia.
My inclination is to support the staff on this. Part of resilience is redundancy. I've become convinced of that in the climate space, and I think it translates here. And one other quick comment, I just want to say for the record, since there's been a lot of conversation about this Kohler generator, not related to me, and this just in case anybody in cyberspace is wondering, no conflict of interest there.
All right.
And if I may just address quickly Director Bragman's question about whether there was a notice and an opportunity to respond to the low bidder. There was a notice and opportunity to respond to both of the bids that were found to be non-responsive.
Yeah.
And Mike, I think your points in response to mine are excellent, okay? Because I didn't consider that we're only renting for part of the year.
Yeah, that was news to me too.
Yeah, so that's a good point. Okay, we could lose power out there from any number of incidents, including earthquake, obviously. The cost benefit analysis, that would have been an interesting supplement for me to take a look at, but I'll go on your word. So, that kind of has given me some confidence in moving forward. So.
And I think that's good comments, Larry. I think that the life of something like this is more like 50 years, 50, because, it's an engine. And if you use it 0 hours a year, it lasts a whole long time. It needs batteries and things, but the engine doesn't go down. If you use it 1,000 hours a year, which I would say would be high usage on this. I mean, this size, they can go 10,000 hours. Or something like that. So there's a lot of life in it. I agree completely with what Ben said about the need for it. When the decision was made not to put in the Blueberry Ridge tank, then the generator became far more consequential.
Yeah.
Because we can't get the water out of San Geronimo Valley over the ridge on Fairfax Bolinas without the pumps.
Right.
And I don't know what they are. They're probably half of our energy consumption goes to running those pumps coming out of San Geronimo. They're like 600 horsepower. I mean, they're really big guys. And but with all that said, I'm still a little concerned about the estimates 4.3 and the bid price 5.1. I'm frankly also concerned about it not being a Caterpillar. This, at least to me, from my experience, that's pretty good size unit for Kohler or for Generac from my experience with them. Obviously they must make it. And I'm sure Haskell wouldn't have utilized it, and CAT must have been very expensive. Alex, do you know what the engineer's estimate was based on? What engine?
For one engine, let me get that real quick. I have that. Each engine was $375,000 based on the Caterpillar estimates we got.
Based on Caterpillar, and they apparently CAT raised their prices or something, huh?
Yeah.
We did hear from the engineer, Larry, that he thought that there was probably a higher premium for the Caterpillar unit because of the one reason we might not have gotten it because of the long lead time. They would have had to rent a unit. It would not have been ready by July.
Well, that's interesting. That's an interesting comment. What about the air emissions issues? We lost those generators or those motors, the pumps out at Chulahuli or wherever they were. We had to abandon them. Remember the ones because they couldn't meet the current air standards. I mean, it's obvious. I think the air standards are not going to go up. They're not going to get more lenient. But I suppose these units, because they already have the filters, there's not a lot more that can be done to them. I mean, I'm sure CARB can do more, but in general, we should be okay with these engines.
Correct. We've already
for a while, huh?
Yes, and we already have the permitting from the Bay Area Air Quality Management District in hand. So yeah, with the diesel particulate filters to reduce that matter. So we're definitely well in compliance with the regs. Yes.
Another thing I'm a little disappointed in, I would have expected Thompson to be here tonight on the meeting to make a position known about this. I don't see them. I don't know all the people on that are participating, but I'm a little surprised that they didn't show up. So just a comment. What was that?
I said, are we sure they're not out there? We haven't gone to public.
Can we see the hands up?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just didn't see any names that looked like the names that were on the letters.
Okay. All right.
They're all staff.
Do you want a motion, Jack?
I think Cynthia gave us a motion. I think we need a second.
I'll give it a second.
Okay. Roll call vote.
Director Bragman,
Aye.
Director Kohler, Director Russell,
Aye.
and President Gibson.
Aye. Okay, we're on item number 10, the district's emergency contracting provisions.
Alex was gonna lead this too.
Yeah, so I'm still
Thanks,
here.
Alex.
So, yeah.
Thanks, Alex.
Yeah,
you're very welcome. Thank you very much. This is to execute contract number 1935 for the Porteous Tunnel Emergency Pipeline Replacement Project located on a watershed. As reported back on the September 15th board meeting, the district had discovered that the 26-inch welded steel transmission pipeline inside of Porteous Tunnel had broken and was leaking. This pipeline is located approximately 45 feet below grade, below 5 corners in the tunnel, and the tunnel has consequently caved in, rendering the tunnel inaccessible to people. District staff have quickly mobilized, conducted a closed circuit television inspection of both the existing 26-inch welded steel pipe from 1926 and the abandoned 24-inch concrete pipe from 1919 within the tunnel itself. It's about 250 feet. After evaluating those CCTV inspection reports, the recommended approach is to slip line both of the pipes with a 22-inch and a 20-inch HDPE pipe, which will be the most cost-effective way of replacing these pipes and still maintaining the existing hydraulic capacity of the 26-inch pipeline that's in there in the tunnel. On November 6th, district staff received 4 informal quotations to slip line both the pipes. Proposals range from a cost of $364,000 to just a little bit over $1 million. The engineer's estimate for this project was $529,895. The lowest informal proposal was from W.R. Ford and Associates in the amount of $364,990. This project does have a duration of 7 weeks with a contract completion of December 30th, 2020. District staff recommends the board approve resolution number 8608, invoking the district's emergency contracting provisions and directing the general manager to execute a contract number 1935 with W.R. Ford and Associates in the amount of $364,990 for the Porteous Tunnel Emergency Pipeline Replacement Project. Any questions or comments?
I do want to remind the board that it does require a 4/5 vote of the members. So that would be all 4 members.
Okay.
Vote on this because of
So,
the.
Alex, are they doing pipe bursting, or is it just they're just slipping it in?
Correct. They're just going to slip a slightly smaller pipe within the existing 2 pipes in there and then connect them on both ends to maintain hydraulic capacity so that it's not going to be pipers.
And then, so the tunnel is not going to be reconstructed or anything. It'll just be collapsed or remain as is.
Yeah, perhaps at some future time, there will be some additional mitigation measures. But just right now, to address the leak in the pipe, this is what we're going to do to address that.
It looks like there was a landslide out there on the one end towards Phoenix,
Correct. On the eastern side, there's a bit of a little slough that came off of the road. Yeah. It's off to one side. It's not directly over the tunnel itself, but it did add some material right at the entrance. It's going to have to be excavated and regraded at some point.
Yeah, it looks a little unstable. So
yeah.
That's good. You got a great bid. That's good.
Yes.
Okay, do I have any public comment on this?
We do not.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I'd move approval.
Second?
Okay, roll call vote.
Director Bragman,
Aye.
Director Kohler, Director Russell,
Aye.
and President Gibson.
Aye. Item number 11, a personal services contract on a local hazard mitigation plan.
Yes, so Kristen Arnold, Associate Engineer in our planning group, will lead this discussion. So, hi, Kristen.
Hi, good evening. I'm Kristen, an engineer in the planning department. At the September 18th Operations Committee meeting, we discussed developing a local hazard mitigation plan, which is a document that identifies natural hazard vulnerabilities and outlines strategies to reduce risks from natural disasters, such as wildfires, earthquakes, climate change, and flooding. It's the process through which hazards that threaten communities are identified, likely impacts of these hazards are determined, mitigation goals are set, and appropriate strategies to lessen impacts are determined, prioritized, and implemented. In April of 2020, the district secured a $150,000 grant to fund a local hazard mitigation plan. This project is largely funded by FEMA and will identify actions for risk reduction, increase the district's awareness of hazards, risks, and vulnerabilities, and make the district eligible for a range of hazard mitigation funding programs. Adoption of a local hazard mitigation plan is required for the district to be eligible to receive mitigation grant funding awarded through state and federal grant programs, and to be eligible to receive post-disaster recovery funding. In August, district staff publicly advertised a request for proposals. 7 firms submitted proposals in September, and after reviewing the proposals, staff interviewed the 3 most qualified firms and contacted their references. From this process, staff recommends that Tetra Tech be selected to prepare the plan for several reasons. Tetra Tech's project team has extensive experience conducting hazard mitigation plans in California and has demonstrated a thorough understanding of FEMA's requirements. They have an extremely experienced team and a project manager to guide the project. The project manager has over 30 years of experience working with FEMA. Additionally, they will conduct benefit cost analyses of mitigation actions, which will be critical to applying for future grant funding. Tetra Tech has developed a customized scope of services for preparing the district's FEMA-approved local hazard mitigation plan. The scope includes identifying natural hazard vulnerabilities and outlining strategies and mitigation actions to reduce the district's risk and improve resiliency. The scope also includes public outreach strategies and planning for monitoring and updating the plan over time. Additionally, the scope includes numerous workshops, public meetings, and assistance with Cal OES and FEMA approval of the plan. The project is planned to start this month and will be completed by June of 2022. The plan itself will be completed by January of 2022, so a little over a year, but Cal OES and FEMA approval could take until June of 2022. The total cost for preparation of the plan is estimated at $200,000. FEMA awarded the district a grant for up to $150,000 or 75% of the project cost. So the district is responsible for 25% of the project with in-kind labor. This is a grant reimbursable project, so the district will need to pay for the contract costs of $150,000 as the project progresses and will be reimbursed by FEMA at the end of the project. The contract cost is $150,000, so the district's contribution will be $50,000 through staff in-kind labor, and that makes up our 25% of the project costs. In summary, district staff requests that the Board of Directors approve resolution number 8612, authorizing the general manager to execute professional services agreement with Tetra Tech in the amount of $150,000.
Okay.
Have any questions?
Thank you.
What office of Tetra Tech is doing it?
Sorry, what was that?
What office? Which office? Where are they coming from?
Oh, I believe the project manager is out of Colorado, but some of their staff is located in California. I think a couple in Sacramento, and then I think one in Southern California.
Okay, I mean, that's a little bit of a concern, I think, but you know, have we ever worked with Tetra Tech? I mean, I know the company very well. Have we ever worked with them before?
I'm not aware of a contract that our department has done with them recently, Larry.
I'm not either, Mike. I don't remember them popping up. I suppose it's a sign of the times that they're interested in a job that size for a company that size. I remember they lost this camera. They were towing a camera from Hawaii to California for the Navy, and it broke off of its tether, and it was enough that it almost bankrupted the company. That's how much they lost when they lost the camera. So that's a long time ago, but I remember that about Tetra Tech very well. And they're a great company. I mean, they're, you know, a big EPA contractor for one thing. But it is kind of interesting. They used to have an office in Walnut Creek, and I was kind of hoping it would be those folks, but it looks like that's not going to happen. So we'll need a report on how they're doing, because I would suggest you ride them pretty hard. You know, I have a feeling when they're that scattered around, it's going to be hard to get someone to pay attention to us. But, you know, let's see where it goes.
Larry Bragman, you got a question?
Oh, I have a comment. Tetra Tech is being sued by the Department of Justice for widespread fraud at Hunters Point. So their reputation precedes them. I don't know if we put this out to bid, and this is a relatively minor contract, but it's a scandal what happened at Hunters Point, and Tetra Tech is right in the middle of it. So just an informational point. It's probably unrelated to this type of work, but it's a big case, and it's a big scandal.
Larry, I think for us on this team, one of the things we're looking for is somebody who could kind of unlock the key to FEMA, because you have to do this kind of plan exactly the way they want it. And they've done, you know, they really demonstrated they know how to do this. They can give us something of value and also help open the door to FEMA. And the project manager just came across very experienced and knowledgeable. And so really, they have a solid team here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any public comment on this?
We do not.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote.
Director Bregman,
Aye.
Director Kohler,
Aye.
Director Russell,
Aye.
President Gibson.
Aye. Future agenda items.
So as you can see, or as you have seen on the staff report, tomorrow morning, bright and early, 9:30 a.m., we'll have our communications committee meeting. And then on Friday, also in the morning, we're going to have our operations committee meeting. So we are jam-packed for the rest of this week, everyone.
All right.
Then, then next week, we have nothing.
If we just stretch this meeting out, we could roll into communication.
Well, it's almost 9:30.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
12 more
gotta be
hours, right?
9:30 somewhere, right?
Yeah. I need a fitful night's sleep to be ready for tomorrow.
Well, you're not going to
Right.
be there, right? Is this
No.
the one you got to go to court?
Yeah.
I see your compadre's got the right approach to our meetings.
Oh, yeah.
So, so this week we're pretty busy, and then we'll have Thanksgiving off next week, and then from our meetings, and then of course we'll come back December 1st for our special meeting, and then we'll have the Watershed Committee meeting on December 10th.
Okay. Thank you all. With that, I'll adjourn the meeting and see you all tomorrow.
Great, thank you.